We think about the fire signs in triplicity as Aries being a match, Leo being a bonfire, and Sagittarius being an altar of candles. You can see by the time we get to Sagittarius, we've actually learned a friggin' thing or two about magic. Hello friends, welcome to your readings for the Sagittarius full moon happening on Wednesday the 11th of June at 5:43 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I'm so looking forward to this full moon. How about you? I hope that you are. There's such a lovely feeling in the astrology for this month in particular, for June, that it feels so relaxing, and I'm anticipating it with like bated breath. I can't wait to start feeling some of the results or some of the effects of this astrology. There's a couple of things that I wanted to bring up first of all, as far as a new feeling, a new energy that we get to work with. And then there's also some culminations of old stories that are sort of not wrapping up, but kind of showing us their third and final act. So let's start from the beginning. If you're new here, hello, my name's Uma. I give group astrology and tarot readings for every new and full moon. And I've been working with this major feeling of exhaustion for quite a while now. And it's pertinent at this astrology to maybe bring that up. And hopefully there's some identification that we can find within each other and some solutions for moving forward. So at the top of everything, the moon will be at 20 degrees of Sagittarius, and there's a way of reading astrology with the tarot, and on that principle, the third decan or third wedge of the sign Sagittarius speaks directly to this card, the Ten of Wands. And the wands, like the fire signs, speak of fire. They speak of magic. They speak of passion and drive. And the 10 is the ending of a major cycle in magic, in inspiration. And you can see that that person right in the center there is hunched over and carrying this huge stack of wands, of almost like they look like flint, perhaps, or, you know, kindling for a fire. You can almost imagine them taking all of this work or all of this inspiration, all of this effort, and with the last gasps of breath, flinging it all into a pile, building a pyre in order to jump right into and to burn themselves to a cinder, to press their exit button. Have you ever felt that kind of level of absolute exhaustion where you're like, I can't get this thing, like, I can't do it anymore. I'm done. In a creative project or just with any kind of space that you've been holding, and you've been trying to maintain some kind of levity or some sort of, you know, protective ring around something. You've been trying so hard to keep it together, and at the end of it, you're just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done. And you want to jump on in. That's the feeling that the tarot is sort of describing to us at this full moon, simply because the moon will be full at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. So with that as like the base note of our perfume for this reading, there's some incredible top notes that are coming our way. I completely respect and fully understand continually having to keep your chin up and keep your chin up and look for the silver lining, look on the brighter side of life, and, you know, try and be a merry sunshine. I really, really identify with that character. I also identify with the darkness of the internal monologue when there's a refusal to actually feel the more complex emotions attached to a circumstance, when there's a continual shoving down of the darker thought forms or the darker realities, the sadness of a moment, the difficulty that one has been living through, and when one's been trying to create magic here and create magic there and keep all of these plates spinning, keep something up in the air, whether that be, hope for the future, whether that be a healthy, happy family, whether that be food on the table, you name it. There's been so much energy exerted. You can feel it. You can feel that sort of fritz. This is the Ten of Wands. This is like, I've actually got nothing left to give this. I've given it my all. I've done my absolute best. And right now I'm in this mode of like self-sacrifice. I'm like, I just want it to stop. That's a huge emotional feeling to have. That's a huge reaction. And that, my friends, is like burnout. It's burnout in a tarot card, and it's burnout in the zodiac too. I love Sagittarius. Sagittarius is so optimistic, is so willing to give something a try, has their hand in that area, that area, that area. They'll give it a go. They're going to like do everything that they can to experience life. If they don't know, it doesn't matter. They'll try, they'll ask, they'll learn. Sagittarius in relationship to the element of fire and to the relationship with magic, with creation, with inspiration, comes at a point in the zodiac where they've actually gleaned so many skills and they have so much to offer. If we think about the fire signs in triplicity as Aries being a match, Leo being a bonfire, and Sagittarius being an altar of candles, you can see by the time we get to Sagittarius, we've actually learned a friggin' thing or two about magic. And so it's no wonder that we're a bit spell-worn, a bit world-weary, a bit exhausted, a bit burnt out. That's a lot of fire to juggle by the time we get to Sagittarius. The beautiful news about this full moon, which will be lighting up a particular area of your birth chart, depending on your rising sign. We'll get to that in a minute. Collectively, it's lighting up a moment for us where our shoulders can't take the weight anymore, and we just need to put it down for a moment. So if we can put it down together, I highly recommend and encourage that. There is levity on the way. There is such beautiful astrology coming right at us. In short term, we have the planet Venus moving from Aries, where it has been scorched and where it has been abrupt, into its home base. Venus rules the sign Taurus, and they've just entered there on the 6th of February. And so hopefully in this attempt to breathe that collective sigh of relief in that sort of communal massage room, we have Venus rolling up the sleeves, ready to have our body lay in front of them and hands on and soothe and touch and caress and feel and release. Finally, all of that pressure in the spine from the neck, the shoulders, right down to the coccyx is slowly and firmly being kneaded out by Venus over the next month. From the 6th of June till the 5th of July, we have the company of Venus in Taurus. So let's use it. Let's open up our senses again. Let's see, taste, smell, hear things in a different way, in a discerning way. Let's enliven everything about our physicalness again. So much time has been spent here for so many of us. It's maddening. The company of Jupiter in Gemini has been highlighting and exacerbating this split down the center of each and every single one of us. This good twin, bad twin, this fight for the righteousness, this argumentative nature of Jupiter in Gemini. Gemini being so talkative and so inquisitive and wanting to learn, wanting to understand, but having Jupiter, who's not at home, who would much prefer to be in Sagittarius, just exacerbating and highlighting the wrong detail. We don't need to focus on this right now. Thank you, Jupiter, but not at the moment. We've got other things to tend to. Top of the list is breaking down or breaking away from this absolute burnout. So what we're going to do with the tarot is we're going to set this card just at the top here. And whatever cards come out for the rest of this reading will be relating, informing that card, finding some solutions for that feeling too. The next month we will have in the massage parlor, we will have in the physical therapy, nutritionist office, however you like to see Venus in your life show up. Allow Venus in. Allow your body to feel pleasure. Allow your heart to feel cared for and tenderized again. The other major part of this astrology that informs this month too, in fact, the Stardagun happens on the same day as the full moon, but this is a longer story that's going to last for 12 months, is Jupiter leaving Gemini and entering into the sign Cancer. Now, while Jupiter doesn't rule Cancer, Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pisces. They're what they call exalted in Cancer, which means that they know exactly what to do in Cancer. After a really difficult time in Gemini, getting it wrong, trying but failing, Jupiter will enter into the sign Cancer, where they can expand and grow to their heart's content. In our astrology, Jupiter represents our hope, our faith, our optimism, and our encouragement. And we really need some hope and faith and optimism and encouragement right now, friends. And you can trust me when I say that it's on the way. Jupiter in Cancer has a really great way of highlighting and underlining the importance of mutual aid and care and safety and a nurturing guiding hand, a full tummy. You know that feeling when someone cooks you a meal when you're exhausted at the end of the day? That's Jupiter in Cancer. You know that feeling of preparing a meal for someone that you love and sitting down with them at the kitchen table and eating it together. That's Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter being a magnifying glass on the sign that wants to nurture, that is here to nurture, that taught themselves and teaches everyone around them how to nurture. So for 12 months, we get this as our new base note, separate from Jupiter in Gemini, separate from this sort of over-exerted crisis of the mind, this internal dialogue that has been pulling us this way and that way and arguing with itself and arguing with those around us and arguing with the world and the fairness of the current situation. That will continue for us all. We must speak truth to power. We must always give those that don't have more than their fair share. We also get to experience that for ourselves. We also get to use this energy of Jupiter in Cancer as a beacon of hope, as a salve for the parts of us that are just burnt to a cinder and done with. Now, Jupiter will also have a test a week after this full moon. They're going to have a final square off with the planet Saturn, which I described to you as the old guard, the ringed planet of boundary, containership, restriction, and lessons, facing off in a square, a right angle configuration with Jupiter. Now, this is the third time that this is going to have happened. The last two times happened on Christmas Eve last year and then August of that year too. So the way that I've read that in hindsight has been this rise in the old guard and the new guard coming into loggerheads and face off. Now, we wanted it to be a different way. We always want it to be a different way lately, it seems. But at certain points in life, the new guard, the new way of being, the new solution, the kids have risen up and they have said, we are not going to be oppressed by that ring and that container any longer. In other instances, that those rings and those containers and those stifling energies have been out in force. The difference with this square, as opposed to the last two, is that previously the square occurred between Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Gemini. And so we know that Jupiter was not on home base in December, in August. They were out of their depth. They were trying as hard as they could to bring in the new world, but it couldn't happen. This time, Jupiter will be in Cancer and Saturn will be in Aries. Saturn is not comfortable in Aries by any stretch. Jupiter is right at home in Cancer. And so I want for this square to play out in its third chapter of a long ongoing story in a way that brings with it some sort of reckoning for those that are continuing to oppress and stifle and strip back and take away. Their time is coming. It's going to happen. And this time Jupiter is in the mama bear house of Cancer, is like, get your hands off my kid, is I am going to protect those that need protection. That's the big shift. This happens the week after the full moon. And I'm not in for guarantees, but I'm fairly certain that we will see things start to move with speed around these topics of oppressive forces, of encroaching supremacy, all of this crap. That's that. On the flip side of this same topic, but in a way that provides us with some levity and some affection, I want us to zone in on the powerful healing nature of touch with Venus in Taurus, and also with the full belly of Jupiter in Cancer. We've got a month with Venus, we've got a year with Jupiter. Jupiter can finally start to do its work again, can finally start to emphasize the importance of nurturing, the importance of feeding, the importance of comforting. All of our empathy is going to be highlighted. You know, sometimes you've got to keep that at bay because it will overwhelm you. It's all right. I completely respect and get and understand that. We can't swamp ourselves or bury ourselves with the pain of others. However, we must witness it, and we must address it, and we must make change. Your feelings are going to start to rise. If they've been difficult to access lately, or if they've been coming in like fits and starts, or if it's been a bit of a shit show, if you've been feeling like, oh, you know what, it's much better if I just continue to build this little pyre, and everything that I've learned, everything that I've been working towards, everything that I've been pouring my energy into will be my undoing. Let's shift ourselves from that. Let's honor that as an impulse. Let's honor that as the current reality. But let's also make actions to move from that headspace. Let's take inspiration from the sign Cancer, and let's take inspiration from the sign Sagittarius too. This full moon is going to be a powerful, moving moment because its guiding light, a Sagittarius full moon, is led by the planet Jupiter, and Jupiter is finally, on the same day, moving into a place of safety and a place of effectiveness. So this is where we're going, my friends. I hope that this info can soothe you in some way. I hope that it can give you a bit of room and a bit of opportunity to allow those more complex emotions to start to surface. You know, there's been a lot of compartmentalizing going on over the past 6 months. That's for damn sure. For some of us, it's been a case of 18 months. For some of us, it's been a very, very long time. If there's something that I can give you as far as advice as to how to maybe anticipate what might show its self in a similar way, or even just the quality of what will Jupiter in Cancer feel like, because I can't even at this stage feel my legs or feel my face. You know, like I can't feel anything at the moment. So what on earth might 10 to 11 care feel like at this moment, at this juncture? The last time that Jupiter was in Cancer was in the middle of 2013, all the way through to the middle of 2014. That's a juncture of time where the quality of Jupiter was similar, was the same. The last time that Jupiter was in Cancer was some 12 years ago. And I've been doing a lot of thinking and a lot of active mapping of my astrology and the transits, because there's been enough time spent in the mud for me as far as I'm concerned. I fully respect and know that shadow work is one of my major reasons for being here on this planet. I've got to understand where and how these parts of my life affect my whole. And the journey to the underground, I'm not frightened of any longer. The journey to the underground, I'm actually quite useful in guiding and helping folks through. And I'm learning how to guide and help myself through as well. But the levity that I am describing, I can find it mid-2013 to mid-2014. I can go back to that period of my life, investigating what Jupiter in Cancer might feel like, and I can find the support. I can find the sense of welcome in a group. I can find the invitation. I can find the kitchen table and the deep chats and the love of the middle of 2013 to the middle of 2014. If it's hard for you to think about that era, I don't wish to drag you back to a place that you'd not prefer to go. It's just simply a technique that I've been developing for myself to insist on reading my life and its history with diversity, to not just labor over the past and be regretful or be sorrowful about what has happened before, and to be anxious about the future. By working with this and by insisting on finding light in the past, it's been so helpful, and it has broken up my definition of what my life has been so far to a place where it is complex and it is broad and it is bright and it is sincere and it is intense and it is gorgeous. By remembering what life was like back then, and by anticipating with great fervor what life could be in the future. Jupiter wants this. Jupiter wants to keep your chin up. Jupiter wants to help you out. So if that's a technique that will work for you, I encourage you to do it. I encourage you specifically, go back to the middle of 2013 to the middle of 2014 with your magnifying glass out for levity, optimism, faith, and hope. How and where and who did you find these qualities with? What did you contribute to other people's optimism and faith and hope and security? How did you nurture others back then? And how have you learned and developed your skills in nurturing now? What's the difference there? What is the next chapter of this story? Jupiter in Cancer is in it for the long haul. We've got 12 months of this as our new base note of this perfume. So let's really, really appreciate it for what it's trying to give us. That's the group astrology. Let's take this moon and let's give it all that we have. I really hope that no matter where you are, you take time with the full moon. You celebrate what has culminated since perhaps December of last year. Too many timelines. I don't want to give you too many timelines to try and keep your handle on, but do with the full moon what we do best. We be with it, we sit with it, we tell it our secrets, and we let whatever is being gently revealed by the company of the moon to come out and to do what it needs to do. To let it out, babe. Let it out with this full moon and know that it's being supported by Jupiter. Jupiter is in the sign Cancer, who is ruled by the moon. There is no safer moment, there is no safer full moon this year than this one to be as vulnerable as you need to be, and to be as elated as you need to be, and to be as reacquainted with your faith as you need to be. No matter what has happened in the recent past, no matter what dissociation you feel with the moon, that can be really scary too when our faith is so separate from us, when we start to ignore the moon or the signs because we can't focus on anything else, because we've got too much on our plate, because we're too racked with fear or guilt or work or worry. When we actually start to question this shit, does this even work? Is this even real? Am I just kidding myself? That's dark, babe, and it's okay. It's natural and it happens to everyone. Questions in faith and questions in practice, questions in spirituality, it's all right. It's part of the journey. It's part of the revealing nature of our spirit work. And there's no greater companion than the moon. They'll never leave you. They'll never be upset. The moon always understands. Whatever you need to give to the moon, they will take. I've yelled at the moon in the past. I've screamed at the moon. I've also danced under the moon, completely naked, in ecstasy. I've worn the moon's light like a costume, like an outfit, like a negligee. Whatever you need, the moon will provide. And this moon, out of all of them this year, is the one to do it. So let's embody our Sagittarian selves at this full moon. Let's see the goal, reach the goal, see the next goal. Let's lay out the candles. Let's ritualize this moment. Let's do our fire spells, work our magic. Let's believe in magic again after a long time, perhaps, of maybe not believing in magic. This sort of faith, this sort of spiritual practice is never going to condemn you. You're not doing it wrong. You're not a bad practitioner if sometimes you fall out of faith with it. It's okay. It's completely fine. All of this stuff is just to provide you with some comfort and some room to hope. Now that Jupiter is in Cancer, our hope can re-emerge So be with me. Let's shuffle some tarot cards. Let's get some of this energy moving and flowing. Let's feel what parts of our body are sore right now. I could name a couple. Let's feel into that. Let's honor that pain and that weight. And let's really look forward to that being lifted. So if you'd like to, with me, close your eyes gently, gently. If that's comfortable for you. If you prefer to keep them open, that's so fine too. But just give me some deep breaths. So let's breathe in together. And out. And in. And out. And in. And out. We are safe, we are supported, we are optimistic, we are encouraged. You deserve safety, you deserve to be nourished, my friend. You deserve the care that you continually give out to other folks. Everything that you're attending to, or tending to, or fixing up, or dealing with right now, all of that has my full respect. And you're doing so much for so many. What I would love for you to discover is that doorway into reciprocity. I'd love for you to receive what you give out. I'd love for you to give out what you've been receiving. We're going to take care of one another. We're going to reinstill a sense of faith and a sense of hope and a sense of optimism together. So we need 12 cards to go with our weary 10 of Wands. We need 12 more for the signs of the zodiac. Now, as always, if you'd like to focus in and harness in on your rising sign, then the astrology and the house system will make the most sense. By all means, you're so welcome to also listen to your sun sign, your moon sign, if you'd like to complete your set of tarot cards for this reading. And if you have the time, listen to the journey, listen to everybody, learn about the other signs, learn about the people in your life and what they've been going through. It works when we support each other. All right. So, one little more shuffle, I guess. And we need 12. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. These are our cards. This is for the Sagittarius full moon. And on that, we're going to start with Sagittarius. If you're a Sagittarius rising, then this moon will be lighting up your first house of yourself, of your soul's rising potential. I want you to bathe underneath it as if it's like a spotlight on you and you alone. Large and in charge and self actualized. I want the feeling of pride to be somewhere in your full moon ritual, Sag. I want you to look around at exactly where you are right now, no matter where you are right now. And I want you to feel something like pride. I want you to feel something like self-love. It doesn't matter where you are, what part of the journey you're on, no matter what stage of progress, no matter if you really prefer to be somewhere else, in this moment, you are the emperor. You are large, in charge, in control. You are your own daddy, babe. You can provide all that you need. You have the skills and the abilities and the concentration and the perseverance to make it in this life. You are right now. No matter what you are wading through, no matter what this full moon is highlighting, it's all included, it's all welcome, it's all part of it. So I want you to really stand in your power as a Sagittarius. I want you to be like, yeah, you know what? I fucking give it a try. I may not know exactly how, but I'll learn. And I know that if I don't try, then nothing will happen. And I know that I'm meant to be here doing what I'm doing. And I love myself. Under this full moon, I love myself. That's you, Sag. Let it go. Let it go. I get it. All right. Capricorn. So if you're a Capricorn rising, then Sagittarius is the sign that rules your 12th house, which is your hidden world. If you imagine it sort of in the idea of if your rising sign, Capricorn, is the sign that was cresting the eastern horizon when you took your first breath, then the sign that was cresting the eastern horizon before you were born, while you were still in utero, while you were emerging into consciousness, was Sagittarius. There's a whole bunch of different things that we don't know about the 12th house. If you've got planets in your 12th house, you might know more than we do. People with planets in their 12th house really have a greater link or perception of what may have gone before, or what perhaps, if it's not in terms of a direct philosophy on reincarnation, it might be something to do with a link to the ancestors, to who was here before you. I'll leave that up to you. It's a very personal part of our spirituality that you can share or not as much as you need to. I love hearing every philosophy, and I haven't set my mind on my own yet, but this is part of my world. I guess in that Sagittarian way, I've got 4 planets in Sagittarius of being here to learn and to understand all of the different possibilities. So this full moon's lighting up your 12th house. And it seems really, really gentle in there. I can imagine your 12th house as the banks of the ocean, sandbanks. You can see here the Queen of Cups is sitting in a throne on the edge of the sea. I love her because she's got a cup bigger than anybody, and she's got all the time in the world to receive and to give and to receive, like the lapping of the tide. When we think about water in the tarot, in astrology, We think about the way that we feel, our emotions, our emotional receptivity. And this appears to be someone incredibly emotionally receptive. It's almost as if they're waiting for you in your 12th house. I wonder if you can access them in your dreams. Maybe you've been dreaming about someone that you love or someone that you wish that you could hug again. And they're waiting for you in the 12th house, it seems, Cap. So maybe at this full moon, you can do some dream magic. You can be as literal as before you go to sleep, asking your dreams to show you the answer to your question, or asking your dreams for an audience with this Queen of Cups. Someone whose arms are wide open for you, whose hugs feel like no one else's, who has all the time in the world just to listen to how you've been feeling. I know, darling, she says. I love you, darling, she says. You're hungry, she says. Big love to you, Cap. Go gently with this one. Go gently with this queen. Give her a big hug. From me as well. All right. Aquarius. Now, if you're an Aquarius rising, then Sagittarius is the 11th house, which is our sense of belonging in humanity, our humanitarian spirit, our good friends, and our good fortune. So let's have a look. Now, it happened again, Aquarius. So we got this card last time. This is the Six of Swords. This represents action of leaving. This card represents a moment in time when we need to barricade ourselves for safety, when we need to create a healthy mental boundary around us, and we need to set sail and to leave something that feels really incredibly emotionally turbulent. You can see on one side of this raft, there's choppy water, and this rower is taking this person here in the raft to safety, somewhere calmer. The swords are working as a barrier or a barricade in this moment. Sometimes the swords, in their way that they affect our mind and our thoughts, they can be incredibly incisive, but they can also be incredibly violent. They're protective in this card. So it feels to me, Aquarius, that because it happened in the last reading too, this just might be something for you to really sort of, there's a big question here, it seems, a big question to ask. Are you safe where you are? Do you want to be where you are? Is it time to get out? Are you involved in some sort of emotional interaction where it is becoming more and more unsafe for you? Is it time to be mentally articulate with yourself, to be clear, and to leave? The full moon in Sagittarius is lighting up your friendships. So I wonder what parts of those friendships are healthy and what parts are suffering right now. I wonder if it might be an action, and not forever, but I think that every relationship needs some sort of sense of boundary. We can be so boundaryless with people that we love. I know that I can, but that often doesn't lead us to a place of happiness. That can often be incredibly debilitating, and in fact, like the moon is highlighting, it can lead to actual burnout, to feeling burnt out because of your responsibilities to your friendships or your responsibilities to even your humanitarian principles. Perhaps you've been incredibly labored with thoughts about the well-being of the community, that it's affecting your physical body. Perhaps your mental worry is affecting your emotional availability. These are just all questions, but related to the 11th house with its definition of, your humanity, your humanitarian warrior, and your friendships too. What it seems like is something has got to give. There needs to be something put in place to keep you safe and to keep them safe too. So think it over. It was the same card as last time, so it's worth mentioning that again. All right. Pisces. So if you're a Pisces rising, then Sagittarius rules the 10th house, which is where you're most publicly visible. It can have something to do with your career, if you have one. It can definitely have something to do with how other people react and perceive and interact with you. Think about it. It's on the top of the chart. It's the most visible place on the chart. So this is Sagittarius. This is where the moon is spotlighting. However, Jupiter, which is your guiding light, as well as Sagittarius, the planet that you look to and long for in your astrology, the planet that has its all the best intentions for you, has just moved from your 4th house and it's moving into your 5th house. So already there feels like something creatively magnetic about this time for you, Pisces rising, because the instability of home life, or the exacerbation on home life, on roots, old family stories, old folklore, has been so highlighted with Jupiter in Gemini for such a long time. I can feel it already, this sort of sweet relief of not setting it down and putting it away and not looking at that part of your life anymore, but perhaps even being happy about what has been discovered about those topics through this instability of Jupiter trying to get to the bottom of it. And now with Jupiter in Cancer, this is moving into a place of your creativity, of your access to physical pleasure, to the joy of life. There's something that feels really fertile about this shift in the planets. But let's have a look at the tarot to see what you got. Well, you got the 8 of Cups, and this is a Pisces card. This is actually quite a personal card for me. It affects my birth chart. And one way to look at this card would be someone is picking up and leaving, dropping everything and moving on from whatever they've collected in their emotional world, all those cups representative of each lesson that they've picked up along the way. They're seeking out somewhere else, moving along. But if you look closer, there seems to be one missing. That configuration of cups would look much better if there was one more to add to it. And so perhaps this character is going out to find the other cup and then to bring it back. I like this. I think that the next adventure is really on the doorstep, Pisces. And I think that definitely after this last bit of time of being so emotionally raw and really being present to doing the work rather than shying away from it or numbing it out, it's been such a difficult time, or difficult, intense, exhilarating time as well. But I could definitely understand that there's been certain bonds that have made themselves even stronger. And I understand the fear of abandonment, but I also understand the fear of perpetrating abandonment might be something really strong in you, not wanting to leave anyone behind. But what it looks like, Pisces, is that this burnout feeling is going to be aided by some sense of adventure, by actually moving around, moving the energy. It's almost as if this one feels a bit stagnant. This is the stagnant energy that we're dealing with. This is that sort of heavy back, that sore body, that's those sore bones. And this is the antithesis. This is Jupiter in Cancer by the ocean, being like, you've done so well over the past 12 months to contend with these old family stories or these family dramas, all of this revelation around security and, stories from the past. Now it's time to go deeper. What else can you find? What else can you uncover and bring out? I think the moon is definitely highlighting something quite public about you. Sagittarius longs to learn and understand and to figure it out. There's something in that idea or in that mode that is beckoning you. It's kind of like coming up. And so you might be feeling worried about leaving those that need you. But what you need to trust, and what the moon is encouraging you to trust too, is that they'll be okay. Whatever you need to do for yourself is what needs to happen right now. And this beckoning quality of knowledge, of learning, of expanding yourself, of improving upon your emotional connection with yourself, of understanding why you feel this way, why they feel that way. There's only room for improvement, it seems, Pisces. So go and get it. Now that Jupiter, your guiding light, is strong again, it's time to be brave. It's time to go and seek out that which you've been longing for so long. Okay, Aries. If you're an Aries rising, then Sagittarius is the sign that rules your 9th house in the whole house system, and this is the house of the great, expansive quest for knowledge. The 9th house in the Hellenistic tradition was called the house of the gods. And so this is where we embark on a grand adventure. We go and absorb as much education and teachings as we can, and we add it to our own philosophies. We eventually publish what it is that we've come to learn in the 9th house. It's very active and outwardly focused. Cancer is the 4th house for you. So this is where Jupiter has just entered, leaving your 3rd house of Gemini into the 4th house. So for the next 12 months, hopefully in some sort of relationship with your memories from 2013 and 14, there's going to be an emphasis on your private world. So there's something in the privacy of your own home that is aiding this expansiveness out there. And it almost, to break it all down and make it quite simple, it's almost as if you're coming home to yourself, and it's giving you the courage to be yourself outwardly and publicly and vocally, even more than you ever have before. When we find or re-establish a sense of security and privacy, we get to recoup, and we get to heal from whatever may feel like burnout. And so if this is the burnout card, and it is so public in the 9th house, it is so out there, it might almost be a relationship with your work too. And perhaps Jupiter coming into the 4th house is reminding you of the importance of a safe space to land. You need equilibrium at home in order to project outwards. That's the balance of astrology. That's the balance of life. You can't live out there on the limb for all of your life, because this will no doubt happen. So let's see what your tarot card is, Aries. Oh, honey, okay. So you got the 9 of Swords there, Aries rising. It's okay, but you can absolutely see that this is someone who's having a sleepless night or two. They're sort of racked with the recurring thought forms that are represented by the swords. They're keeping them up at night, this sort of repetition, anxious repetition of the mind. I am sorry that this is happening for you, darling, but maybe this is also a reminder that this outward-facing, optimistic journeying that you do so well, that you want to be visible, be out there, be learning, receiving knowledge, being some, form of authority in your chosen field too. Having magic so accessible to you feels to be, it's kind of waning at the moment, and it might have something to do with the instability at home or the instability in your privacy. Know that Jupiter in that place is going to bring with it a massive cuddle and a massive salve and lots of blankets and some warmth and some security. But I can see that it has been keeping you up for a long time, and perhaps energy is really depleted right now because you've been so preoccupied with how awful it's been at home, or how awful it's been with the relationships that exist in your family, or something's happened where you just can't seem to step off that crisis wheel in your mind. It's sort of like, oh God, another thing. Oh, I'm so preoccupied. I used to think that outward focused life was all that I was good at. And I used to think that people like me didn't really know or have security in their lives very much, and we didn't really need it. I thought as long as I've got my work and I'm out there and I'm doing it and I'm visible and I'm creating, then that's a happy life. And I didn't realize that the longer I lived without a comforting, stable home life, I just became burnt out because there was no place for me to regenerate. There was no place for me to, reform after everything that I was exerting out there in public, on the proverbial stage, sometimes the literal stage. Home, astrology is great for this, that we work in balance and in opposites. You can give it all that only if you've got some safety at home. So at this full moon in Sagittarius, whatever you need to expel, or whatever you need to release, whatever, perhaps you've got a big effort that's coming up and you're sort of like, oh, I don't even know if I've got the energy for this. Know that on the same day as the moon, Jupiter will be moving into Cancer, into your 4th house, and exacerbating the importance of peace and sanctity in your home life. I'm sorry, darling. I hope that this hasn't been too much to deal with. And hopefully this anxiety will ease soon too. So Taurus. Now Taurus, Venus is with you, babe. Venus is going to be with you for a month, so don't take it for granted. Your guiding light is in the 1st house. What a beautiful feeling for you. Hopefully all of that stuff I was talking about re-engaging your 5 senses, you're resonating with, you can feel really personally, sort of like, oh God, yes, I just need to get back into my feeling self. I need my, skin and my tongue and my ears and my every sense needs to be reactivated. That's how I treat myself kindly, is by feeling something. Venus is with you, babe, and you're probably looking really gorgeous at the moment too. So kind of go with it. Allow yourself these moments of pleasure amidst everything else that you're contending with. Allow yourself the pleasure, allow yourself the beauty. It's what Taurus is so good at teaching us all. So allow yourself some of that too. Sagittarius is your 8th house. So this is where we connect with others. This is where we sign contracts with others. This is where we learn about the profundity of saying goodbye. And this is where our resources are interwoven or intertwined with other people. So that's a pretty broad definition. But let's think about it in terms of, let's get the tarot first before we decide. But this full moon is really highlighting a place quite vulnerable, So in Hellenistic astrology, the 8th house was called the idle place. So it feels almost like there's images of graveyards and things around the 8th house too. Let's get the tarot and let's see. So you've got the 7 of Cups, Taurus. What I can see here is an inability to decide. It almost feels as if the options are too many or too nebulous to really land on. And this 8th house sentiment is quite sincere. You'll find a lot of people with planets in the 8th house are really good at the trickier parts of life. They're really good at facing and approaching and sort of project managing grief. They're also really good at collaborating too. The 8th house has a real kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, there's a conviction that we need to maintain in the 8th house. And there's no, conviction's the wrong word. We need to, it's serious stuff. The 7 of Cups isn't serious stuff. The 7 of Cups is sort of like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Oh, will I commit to? It's a very non-committal kind of feeling in the tarot. Emotionally, being non-committal can be cute and fun when you're young. It can also be incredibly exhausting for those around you. Now, as a Taurus rising with Venus entering into your 1st house, I can see you looking beautiful. I can see you finally getting reacquainted with the essence of yourself. I can see this. Let's get light on it. Being exhausting for you. So if you've been dealing with folks that you've been finding it very difficult to get an answer from, if you've been having that song of, was it perhaps, just came to me now. It's that kind of, yeah, maybe kind of feeling. I think that maybe at this full moon you might feel a jolt of emotion around that and you being fed up with that. So go gently, but also remember the definition of the 8th house, which is incredibly sincere, and we all go through it in some capacity. Not everyone has the experience of inheriting money from their relatives. So it's broader than that. You know, it's other people's resources is one way to read the 8th house. But I always think about it in terms of like contractual binding with others. Think about the difficulty of grief and think about, we only feel that with people that we really love. We don't feel that with people that are sort of like, maybe. So who are you investing in? Here we go. I've come to it. Sorry to blag a little bit there. At this full moon, you're going to be met with the question as to who you're investing with and in this life, resources and otherwise, energetically speaking. Who is worth the commitment and who it just is incapable of the commitment. That will be the full moon's highlight. Know that Venus is wanting you in your body, and know that Jupiter is going to be guiding and supporting you for the next 12 months. So whatever is highlighted and whatever potential heartbreak or even burnout that you feel with these sort of energy vampires, know that that's sort of coming to a culmination, and know that things are shifting into much greater clarity and much greater intent as far as care is concerned. So it's up to them, Taurus. It's up to you to make the decision, but it's also up to them to prove that their sincerity is believable. I'll leave it there. All right. Gemini, hello. Now, no shade, you've probably been hearing my definitions of Gemini and being like, oi, no, maybe a little bit. It's just because Jupiter would much prefer to be in Sagittarius, in your 7th house, as it turns out on your birth chart. If you're a Gemini rising, Sagittarius is the sign that rules your 7th house of the other. Gemini is us, they are the other. Sagittarius is the lover, the friend, the nearest and dearest, close, intimate bonds in the 7th house. And that's actually a lovely place to have rulership by Jupiter and to have Jupiter enter into a sign that it can actually do some really good work. And looking at this handover, it's almost as if I hope that you've been able to take what was been given to you with Jupiter's presence for the last 12 months. I hope that there's been a lot that you've been able to learn about yourself. I hope that those sort of fits and starts of highlighting but then pulling away, or perhaps misinforming oneself, have been worthwhile for you, Gemini. And Jupiter in Gemini is not a bad omen. It's just Jupiter has such a difficult time getting it right or doing their best work in Gemini. It's as simple as that. It happens to everybody. Maybe there's been some great things that you've come to learn about yourself. But what I can see at this full moon is the spotlight is on the other person. So in your beautiful Gemini way, go and look into the mirror, look into your 7th house, look into your relationships, look into people, the eyes of people that you love, and exalt with this full moon. Be very grateful for them. Perhaps even be more demonstrative with your love at this full moon. That's always a great thing to do at a full moon in the 7th house, is to be overt with how much you love your loved ones. Let's get the tarot and see what else we can talk about, because I can see almost something else here, but I thought that that might be the case. So your tarot card is the 4 of Pentacles. And so I want you to envisage that journey of Jupiter moving from your 1st house, the hope, optimism, and faith that you can glean as far as your self-respect, now moving into your 2nd house of your resources and your values. So this full moon is being informed by a fresh perspective on your resources and your values. For the next 12 months, there's going to be an emphasis on how you resource yourself, what you value. That's really great. And I think that there's a link here with your 7th house too. So there's something about using the fullness of Jupiter, which will enter into Cancer on the same day as this full moon, and then linking those two places. What do I value? Where are my resources? How are they related to my 7th house? How are they related to other people? In the 7th house, we can often, if we do one-on-one work, if we do client work, there can be things that show up in the 7th house around those topics too. So are you able to resource yourself through how you relate to others? The 4 of Pentacles is a humble card. It's 4 Pentacles. It's not very many, but it's more than none. And the 4 is learning how to maintain, but also hopefully how to generate more of this stuff. They might be a little bit distracted at times, and you can see they have their back to a cityscape at the back. So maybe this person hasn't had a great deal of time for socializing or being amongst it because they've been so focused on money and how to generate it, or how their resources, how to sort of make this work. But whatever it is that you've learned about selfhood is coming in to inform your value system and your money-making abilities. And it seems as though this full moon is, as much as we were speaking about burnout and things like that, whatever you've learned about relationships in your personal life can aid your value system and can aid your access to resources too. There's a lot of talk around boundaries, I think, at these readings, which is really important, and it looks as though you've been teaching yourself boundaries through trial and error in your relationships. So go with that. Look forward to the next 12 months and the opportunity that arises in your 2nd house of your values, your money, and look to your relationships at this full moon with a sense of appreciation. Thank you for the lessons that you've taught me about healthy containership, about boundaries and how not to spread myself too thin. Maybe even in terms of thinking about 2013 and 14 and how perhaps the lack of boundaries in relationships has provided a lesson for you moving forward. Perhaps the way that you related to people back then is different to the way that you relate to people now because of what you learned all that time ago. Rather than being burnt out and never wanting to see or have human contact ever again, you have actually got something to share about interacting and relating to other people because of your life experiences. That's it. That's a nice one, I think, Gemini. Hope you can see what I can see. All right. So, Cancer. Now, from what I can explain to you from my experience, Jupiter in the first house, no matter what sign you are, does present a lot of opportunity. There is room in there to really learn more about yourself and to grow and to develop. Think about your life back in 2013 to 2014 and what was occurring for you around a sense of self, around an identity, around what you were learning about who you are and what you contribute. And if you can hang on to any kind of memories of faith, of hope, of prosperity and good fortune, then bring them into this next round with Jupiter. How did you inform yourself back then? Forgive me, how what you learned back then can inform this next round for you. So that's exciting. And looking at the moon, Sagittarius rules the 6th house, which is your house of repetitive service. Interesting, actually. This moon is highlighting a place that sometimes can feel like servitude, which is very apt for this card, isn't it? This sort of burnout. The 6th house can definitely lead to burnout. When we're on repeat, when we're following and performing our duty rather than our desire, and when we get stuck in a rut. We can get stuck in a rut in the 6th house, absolutely. So this switchover, this handover might be at first a bit emotional in terms of like, I can't do this anymore. Maybe I don't have to do this anymore. Maybe there's some room for me to move here finally, coupled with a great big, bountiful, extra injection of self-confidence in your 1st house, Cancer. What you've learned through this burnout and through this duty, through this devotion to repetitive service, hopefully will make you proud of your work ethic and proud of your humanity and proud of your ability to show up. And then let's see what is occurring for future. You've got the Ace of Pentacles, which is a seed, an offering of great potential for growth. Pentacles can represent money, they can represent anything that we can hold in our hand. Out of all of the offers from the aces and the tarot, the pentacle is a legitimate seed. You can see there's a garden underneath there too, which is adding to that sort of imagery. Now we know that anything handed to us from spirit land, from either our ancestors or our guides, our spirit guides, it's always an offer given in perfect faith and perfect trust. It's what we do with it that really makes the difference. And so if this burnout feeling from your repetitive, continual acts of service has you down, and maybe you're feeling a bit emotional at this full moon, thinking to yourself, I actually can't do this anymore. I'm so sorry, but I'm really so burnt out right now. Let that emotion show up. You know what to do with the moon out of all of us. The moon rules Cancer, so do your thing. Feel it. feel the frustration, feel the sort of anxiety, feel the kind of, almost feel the sweet relief of putting something so heavy down, and then look around and then think to yourself, okay, so 2013, 14, what felt hopeful? What filled me with a sense of optimism? What made me feel kind of like things were just really working in synergy and emotion, and made me feel creative and made me feel abundantly like fertile and excited to wake up every day? That's all the feelings that I can attest happen when Jupiter is in the first house. It happened for me back in 2022, I think. So go with that. And sometimes it can feel a little bit sort of hectic, but go with the inspiration after you've acknowledged to yourself how exhausted you are at doing the same dull thing every dull day, and how stuck in a rut life has become, or had become. We're moving away from this. Now, any act of service will have that emotion, and I'm not about to tell you to throw it all in the bin and start something new. But this seed is kind of like, it's a really beautiful potential to gain some greater perspective. Perhaps how you've been doing things to date has run its course, and perhaps you need something fresh in the form of this kind of offer to make you look at what you have in a different light, or a different idea, a fresher way of doing things. It's nice, Cancer. I think it's going to be really a beautiful year for you once you can acknowledge just how tired you have been. All right. So, Leo, Sagittarius is the sign that rules your 5th house of your creative self-expression, for no means to any ends, just for the sheer joy of it. The 5th house has so much to do with our childlike self, which you're really, really wonderful at. It has to do with our access to pleasure and to enjoying ourselves, our body, our experiences and our senses. So what a beautiful place to have a full moon just after we've been describing Jupiter in Cancer for all of this time, and all that can happen with Jupiter in Cancer. This, I feel, is going to be a perfect time to be around collaborators, those that you love. But again, I'll say it, not for any ends, not for any end point or end action. This isn't monetized creativity. This isn't the professional world. This is pleasure and joy and creative expression and sharing for the sheer sake of it. This is where the moon is highlighting. And I hope that you've had access to those sorts of experiences. And I hope that that's been a juicy place for you. Just focusing again on that burnout card though, I wonder, it could be a couple of different things. We'll get the next tarot card before I go too deeper into it. But it might be, it's either time to rein it in a little bit, because you have been working in that magical space with the body, with pleasure, with giving everything that you have, that you've got nothing left to give. That could be one way to look at this, Leo. Or it could be the antithesis of that, of now it's time to activate, because you've been so stretched elsewhere, because you've been giving or responsible for other folks and their journey, that there's been limited time for your pleasure. So let's have a look at the card before we decide. Well, you got the 6 of Wands, which is gorgeous, which is an incredible celebration, and congratulations, you've done really well. Sorry to be so flippant. I just realized my tone of voice as I was saying that. I was like, yeah, congratulations. No, congratulations. But I'm just trying to sew all of this together. Yeah, okay. What I can see, Leo, is that while congratulations are absolutely in order, and you should be so incredibly proud of yourself for what you've accomplished, and it seems as though your creativity and your self-expressive nature, like it or lump it, as much as we can say to no ends, it has been a major focus for you. It seems to be related to some sense of your humanitarian principles as well. There's a link there between Gemini and Sagittarius. So if we think about Jupiter leaving your 11th house, which has got a lot to do with other people and your sense of communing, on the day of this full moon, highlighting your individual self-expression, and then Jupiter entering into the 12th house, stay with me. It looks to me, Leo rising, that now is the time for you to defrag and decompress, absolutely celebrate everything that you've given out and that you've created with your body, with your work, with your magic. And now sink gently into your unconsciousness. I've just got Madonna's song that Björk wrote called Bedtime Stories in my head. Is it Let's Get Unconscious, Honey? Have you heard that? So beautiful. But now's the time for that, Leo. If you're a Leo rising, that's probably more apt. But this crescendo feels really, really vital. It also feels incredibly exhaustive. So you're spent. As much as we're celebrating your work and as much as your brilliance has been on full display, and you've done such an incredible job, and you've been holding so much space and so much energy for the collective group in the 11th house, so much in your hands, giving out for the benefit of so many. Now is the time at this full moon, now that Jupiter has left the 11th house, to feel that dip into your unconscious senses, into the liminal space between sleep and awake, into a meditative sort of motion. Now is the time for you to regroup and to re-energize, because this celebration, as mad and wild and brilliant as it's been, it's taken so much from you. So it's time to top up. It's time to let the pleasure center ease, let the creative juices flow. They've done their course, they've flowed. And so now it's time to gently dip into your unconscious awareness. What have you learned from all of this physical, creative exertion? What a trip, Leo. It feels really huge. Congratulations are definitely in order. And so now is deep rest. So if you're a Virgo rising, Sagittarius is the sign that rules your 4th house, which is your home, your privacy, the world that you have created or are creating for yourself, that allows you to experience nurturing, that allows you to nurture, that allows you to give and receive in those private acts of care and healing. The 4th house is beautiful, should be gentle, safe pocket of the chart below. Now the full moon is highlighting this space for you. So there's a spotlight on family matters, on your privacy. It's very, very separate to your public facing self, Virgo. So publicly, Jupiter has just left all of that argumentative fits and starts, great revelations, great conversation, great ideas, but also perhaps a lot of retaliation and aggression too. Jupiter is leaving and then entering into Cancer. So on your birth chart, Cancer is the 11th house, which is your sense of belonging in a group and your humanitarian spirit. So thinking back to 2013 and 14 and thinking back to your sense of belonging in a group, thinking what was Jupiter providing for me in my sense of friends in the group, my sense of belonging somewhere. How can I relate 2013 and 14 to now insofar as what I'm looking forward to? The burnout that we can feel is coming to its close. We know that the moon is highlighting something in either the family lineage, the stories of our ancestry, our home, but there's been so much magic that you've been holding on to and maintaining. That could be protection magic. Whatever it is that you've been doing is running to its very, very finality. And the exasperation in the public-facing self is waning. And now that hope and that faith and that optimism and that good fortune is entering into your house of friendships and humanity, your humanitarian spirit. So let the emotions out in private. Let whatever it is you've been hanging on to and holding on to, let it out at this full moon in a complete privacy with those that you love. Phone folks that are your family, that feel like family, and let them know what you've been holding for so very long. I'm sure that they'll be great to hear. I'm sure they'll be so grateful to hear from you. Set that down and then wonder and imagine what belonging might feel like in your 11th house of your friends and your humanity. But let's have a look at the tarot to see if I'm on the right track. So you've got the Judgment card, Virgo. If you're a Virgo, this is for all Virgos, why not? At the end of our life, when all is said and done, when everything is chalked up at the proverbial pearly gates, or whatever it is that you do believe in, whatever reckoning you feel may be coming your way when all is said and done. None of us really know for sure what happens after we die or on the way to death. There are some people that have had near-death experiences that can describe, what it might feel like. But there is this overarching feeling of what will I get the meaning of life? Will that have arrived for me? And the common thing that you'll hear from anybody who has worked in palliative care or worked in close connection with folks that are leaving this earth, they always come back to love. There's no talk about power. There's no talk about rulership. There's no talk about greatness in their conversations. In that vulnerability of passing from this reality to the next one, the conversation is always around love and always around care. Perhaps there's a little mild lamentations about, I wish I had have spent more time with those that I love. And that's okay. That's all it seems that humanity is concerned with when meeting its final hour. And so when you're in your head about this or about that or about the other, find yourself little moments in that busyness to check in with those that you love, to check in with how much love you have to give, how much you do love. I'm sure that you'll find that it's in absolute abundance, as wide as the ocean. I'm sure that you can be proud of yourself about how much you give out, how much love you do have to offer everyone around you. Whenever it gets noisy in there, babe, just remember that and come back to love. I know it sounds hack, but it's just the simplest bit of advice that this card is offering, and that any of us can really, give or receive. Cliches are cliches for a reason, because they work often. Come back to love, honey. Come back to love at this full moon. Be vulnerable. Let those in your home, your private world, know how you've been feeling, what you've been holding. And then come back to love. That's all you need to do. love is going to come for you when you open yourself up to it. Okay. So Libra. Oh. So on your birth chart, Libra, if you're a Libra rising, Sagittarius is the third house. Now, in the Hellenistic tradition, the third house was called the house of the goddess. It was actually called the chamber of the moon. So the moon itself really adores it in the third house. That's something to remember whenever you have activation in that third house by the moon. It's probably pretty fertile ground to do some work. Now, this feeling of burnout that we might be experiencing collectively, individually, has its moment to be felt and seen and heard at this moon. We're all doing that together in some capacity. But I feel that there's something that you're not quite seeing, or perhaps you are seeing, perhaps you could look forward to, is something that feels really, really, really healing. A connection between one and another. You can see in between these two characters, there's the staff of Hermes. Forgive me if you've heard this before. But the Two of Cups is the simplest, most beautiful offering of interconnected, emotional, reciprocal care. Now, it just so happens that Jupiter in Cancer, in that first wedge, that first decan, is highlighting this card. So on your birth chart, Libra rising, Cancer is the 10th house, your most public-facing self, how people perceive and receive you. And so what I see here is an absolute communion, a bonding. I see you face to face with those that you perhaps are providing or have provided care for, and them providing it right back to you. You can see how powerful this interchange is between these two souls. It's an opportunity to say thank you so much for all that you have provided for me, and here is what I'm providing for you. It feels like a major win in your public-facing self. Now, if you're career-minded, that could be a win at work, absolutely. But I think it's just probably more apt if we just go with this sort of public perception kind of definition. This full moon in your third house of the goddess, of the witch, of all of the work that you've been doing behind the scenes, cajoling, conjuring, keeping things together, using your language to keep your chin up and keep moving forward and keep hope alive. You know, that's the exhausting part I can see. It's that sort of perpetual optimism that you've been trying to hang on to. As a Libra rising, you know that Taurus has got Venus on side, so your guiding light is in good hands right now. So in that sort of moment to breathe and relax, let some of this appreciation in. Accept the compliments, accept the gratitude from others. People coming up to you saying, look, I really appreciate how you handled that. I really appreciate what you offer. Thank you so much. Your contribution is admired. And I really, really, really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is what you're going to receive at this full moon, Libra, and I can't wait for you to accept it. And finally, Scorpio. So if you're a Scorpio rising, then Sagittarius is the sign that rules your second house, which is your money, your resources, and your values. Three very sort of pragmatic, fairly important things in this incarnation of life. In a world that's so obsessed with finance, the second house seems to be taking precedence for the majority of us. And in the current climate, it seems pretty precarious for quite a lot of us too. So let's go with those feelings. Let's think about how you've been working around the clock, how you've been spinning that plate, and the other plate and the other plate, how you've been exerting yourself and giving out and trying to accrue, trying to maintain what it is that you do have. And then we can relate that to that burnout feeling from the Ten of Wands. This, in the second house, you can just see it. It's like, all right, I'm done. I'm out. Checked. This is probably the emotions that the moon might bring up for you. Working with the opportunity of Jupiter in Cancer, though, keep your eyes on the prize. For you, Cancer is the sign that rules your 9th house, and this is an incredibly expansive, optimistic house of the gods. So it's where we set out to learn and to appreciate the traditions that our human culture is so peppered with, where we get to really look at philosophy and we get to think about our lives on a greater plane other than fiscal, than financial. So that's a nice little dichotomy there. But let's get your tarot card too, Scorpio. Stunning. Immaculate. Can you see this version of the Hierophant? It's like Kate Bush. This is a soothsayer. This is like the Oracle of Delphi. This is someone that you can absolutely trust the majesty of. This is someone who is incredibly sincere, telling the absolute truth, who has the messages of life and love just flowing through them. All of the spiritual philosophy you could possibly want to know, this character has it. They've devoted their lives to learning it. When I see the Hierophant, I try and think less about the Pope, because at the moment, this current juncture in time, that's bears a lot of pain, I'll be frank. To broaden our definition of the Hierophant, we can include, let's be inclusive, we can include the Pope, we can also include Marie Laveau, we can also include the Buddhist monks in Japan, we can also include every spiritual life of devotion. We can include folks that keep their channel open, keep their portal open to receive the messages from the universe, the galaxy, the spirit guides, whomever, to channel them and bring them down and share them with people to heal and to aid in the growth of those around us. Massive, massive stuff, Scorpio. So when feeling burned out, when feeling at your wit's end, when feeling pressurized by what capitalism has forced you to pay close attention to, when all that you can think about is money and paying the bills and surviving, that this current situation in life has forced you to do, know that on its way is some incredible, incredible eye-opening spiritual conversations. Think about your life in 2013 to 2014 and what grand adventures, what huge journeys you were going on in your psychonaut pilgrimage, any spiritual pilgrimage that you can remember. Bring it back into your current day-to-day life. Were you traveling in 2013 and 14? Were you out there seeking the next grand adventure, trying to open and expand your mind? You can still do that. And when it was 12 years ago, we get older, our bodies feel tired, we get grumpy, especially when we've got mouths to feed and bills to pay. But take that offer from the Hierophant right here. Remember what it was you were chasing back then, and remember the refined nature of your taste now. When is the next pilgrimage going to take place? Where are you going to go? And what are you going to offer on that road to? What can you contribute now to other people's spiritual growth and other people's access to hope and to faith and to optimism? It's pretty powerful stuff, Scorpio. You're seasoned now, and perhaps it might be ready for you to take yourself a little more seriously in terms of your access to faith, spirituality, what you have to say about those topics. It's okay. The grindstone ain't going nowhere for any of us. Got to earn the money, earn the coin, sure. But lift your head up from time to time and look out to the stars, because they're speaking to you right now and they're reminding you of what optimism and encouragement and expansion feel like? Don't want to feel caged in for too long. None of us do, especially you. So let yourself out. Let yourself have a bit of hope and faith. Well, I guess that's our journey, everyone. From Scorpio to... No, wait. Sorry, I've lost it. It's the end. I'm done. From Sagittarius right the way around and back again. That's what I was trying to say. Tralala. Thank you very much for being here with me. I hope that you found that valuable. And I hope that as much as we started somewhere, we started in the reality and the grit of it, hopefully we've ended somewhere else. I want us to keep our chins up, everyone. I want us to maintain our sense of faith during whatever life has to throw at us. I want us to, even in those moments of being stuck in the muck, stuck in the dirt, stuck in the mud, I want us to be able to look up into the stars. That's another cliche that I'm paraphrasing, but they're a cliche for a reason. We've got to keep our chins up. And the astrology of this current moment, of this current month, can aid in that for us. So hopefully the way that I've described it to you has filled you with something that feels like optimism. If you enjoy my reading style, you can head to my website at umaruby.com and you can book yourself a birth chart reading with me, or you can book yourself a tarot reading with me too. I offer both together or separately, whatever you like. But head to the bookings tab of my website and you can choose an astrology journey, or you can choose a tarot journey too. If you'd like to see me on Zoom, we can organise it over there. If you'd like to support my work, you can subscribe for $10 a month at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. You can also put some money in the tip jar at PayPal at my handle at umarubytarot. All of the information is in the description in the box below. The like button is also there, and also the subscribe button. So if you are enjoying my work, please like it so it tells the demons that I'm doing a good job. And yeah, if you'd like to subscribe to this channel too, then you'll get updates every new and full moon. When I only release videos once a fortnight, so it's not too much. What else do I have to say? I think that that's it. I'm really looking forward to this full moon. There's lots that I'm going to sing out to sea and get off my back, finally. I'm looking forward to my physical body reenacting something that looks like and feels like pleasure for once after a long time of not with Venus. I'm really looking forward to Jupiter in Cancer. I'm looking forward to sewing my fond memories of 2013 and 14 into my day-to-day reality now and hoping for what might happen next. I'm looking forward to the next journey in my spirituality too. I believe in this work. I believe in you. And I want you to take very good care of yourself, wherever you are, whoever you are. Send me a comment, send me a good wish. I love hearing from you, and I'll be back with you to speak about the new moon in Cancer, which is the follow-up to this journey, which will be co-present with Jupiter too, so things can only get better. This month is ripe with hope, babes. So let's hang on to it as hard as we can. Take good care. Bye.